Welcome to Tropes and Tantrums. I'm Amber.
And I'm Danielle. We are just two moms, never without our kids or our Kindles.
Welcome back to Tropes and Tantrums. How are you, Danielle?
I am so good. So excited to be in the studio recording. I love it.
Same.
How are you?
I'm good. I mean, for being at 8:20 in the morning, like I'm thriving.
We did plan on starting at 8, but then
but you know, there's setup time.
There's a lot of
drive
setup time
and all of the things.
Starbucks time.
Yes, for you.
For me specifically. So I know it's a little bit late in the month considering it's like we're almost halfway through September, which is bananas, and I don't really understand.
This is on brand for us.
But we are doing our August wrap up.
Yes, we are.
Which I'm really excited about because I think that those episodes are really great because you kind of really get like a look into like what our tastes are and like how that is. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So
do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
So I read 10 books in the month of August, which was a lot for me. I mean,
Sounds for Danielle.
I mean, I usually read around like between 7 to 9 books a month.
Yeah.
10 felt like a lot. And then you still beat me out because you got 11. And I was really thinking, we were going to tie. And I'm like, oh my God, are we going to tie? Are we going to have the same amount? No, she still came out on top, which is fine. I'm fine with it because Amber actually like physically reads just one book at a time. So for me, it's just not, I started probably 50 books and that doesn't count for anything. So read 10 books in the month of August.
Yeah.
It was a really solid reading month. Averaged about 4.2 stars total for the month. Some not so great, some really great. So we're going to kind of base it off of, it was a good month, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
50% Kindle, 30% physical, 20% audio. I think it's fun to have the little breakdown. I mean, most of the time it's more Kindle than literally anything else because that's what I usually have.
All of my reads were mainly Kindle this month.
Read how many series? 4 books. 4 books that were in series. Finished the American Royals series with the 4th book. That was the last book that I finished for the month.
Yes.
I've been reading that series for literally like ever. And then I thought I was going to finish the Inheritance Games series. But no, she did come out with another book last month. And we had talked about it, but I for some reason thought it was like a standalone that was like just like a novella kind of book. It was
it's like a full book.
It's a full book. And apparently she's going to be having another one.
Oh, perfect. I love that for you and my sister because it's one of her favorite series right now.
And I may jump into that eventually, but then I also read the second book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is about as scary as I get, if you know, like that's about as thriller as I get. And
her story graph is like a sliver
of dark, and that's it. That's the dark, and it was much darker than the first book. And I did enjoy the first book. They're fast paced. They're easy reads. They're YA. So they're very easy to digest. But the second one just felt really heavy. Like just the like content was a lot heavier.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't like it as much as the first one. So I'm kind of like pushing off the third one. Sorry, the last one in the series. I may try and just wrap it up next month and just be done with it just because I'm 2 books in already. I might as well. They're quick. So yeah, for the month, my 2 favorite books, I narrowed it down to 2. I was not sure if we were narrowing it down to 1 or 2, but
I have 3 on my list.
I was going to say Amber probably has 3 or 4.
See, I have a hard time like picking just one book. Like there are books that just sit with me differently. And that's how they become like
5. No, 100%.
So, like, some months I have like 1, some months I have like 2 or 3. Just depends.
This month, my favorite books were Divine Rivals, which was our book club book. I hesitate to even say it was our book club book because only like half of us.
Only 4 or 5 of you read it.
I mean, it was half. It was half of the club.
Read it.
True.
I attempted. I got 40%.
You did.
I got 40% in.
technically France was the only one who didn't.
She literally
pick
was
it
like,
up.
no.
She didn't even pick it up. No. Like she looked at it and she's like, nah, dog, this is
and was like, no, dog.
This isn't gonna be it. So technically everybody besides France did pick up the book.
Yes, true.
I really can't wait for her to listen to this.
She's gonna be like, these girls.
She's gonna be like, thanks for calling me out. She's not gonna care, honestly.
No, she's gonna love the show.
No, she's gonna love it. So Divine Rivals, first book in the duology that Rebecca Ross is writing. I have some really strong opinions, or not opinions, I guess depictions of what I thought the book was like that nobody shared. So then I really felt like I was a lunatic. It's fine. I did chaotically message her and I was like, hey, I just like need this for like my sanity. She didn't open the message, thank God. I hope she doesn't because it was very chaotic. It was
can't take it back.
No, I can't, because then if I unsend it, then it's even weirder because it's like, did this girl like weirdly like send some weird shit, which I did. So it's like fine.
I love that for you.
The cliffhanger was a B, and I was not pleased with the cliffhanger. Obviously, I knew it was going to be a cliffhanger, but it was like a worse cliffhanger than Fourth Wing, which, if you know, the cliffhanger in Fourth Wing is also not it. But thankfully, we don't have to wait long because the second book is coming out in December, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully gets the answers to some of my lingering thoughts. But no, I really, really loved it. It was slow in the beginning. So if you're used to, like, if you're like kind of a newbie fantasy girl, it's an easy fantasy to get in because there's not a lot of world building, because it's not like a whole separate world, more than just, it's like an extension of the human world, essentially, is what it is. It is a little bit slow to get into, which obviously is because it's the only book that Amber DNF'd last month. But it's slow to get into, but it picks up and the writing is beautiful, honestly. And that like sells me almost every time.
I will say, like, the writing was really good. It just, like I said in book club, I couldn't decipher the setting of the book. Like, it was so hard for me, and that is something that's so important to me. And that's why I struggled. And so when I got to the point where I was like, I'd rather watch reality TV than watch this.
Oh, 100%. No,
which sucks because it does, for what you guys have talked about in book club, and then what my sister has said about the book. I'm like, dang, I should have just stuck it through. But then I'm like, no, I did that for a reason because it wasn't my thing.
No, and 100%, and that's the kind of great thing. We have realized that our book club is more for the friendship and the enjoyment of just being together more than it is. I mean, we do talk about books the whole time. I mean, absolutely. I can't think of like us going off topic about literally, we talk about books the whole time. But it's just a very different, we're mostly here for the connection, hence the reason that they have instructed me to close the book club, so I cannot.
No new friends.
No new friends. I did just see a girl who posted that she was starting a book club, and she was like started a whole separate Instagram for it, like for anyone to join. And I was like, France would literally have my head if I had created a whole separate Instagram. I was with some
of the girls from my other book club yesterday, and they were like, the girl that you do your podcast with, she sounds so fun. Like, why haven't you invited her to our book club? And I was like, well, we're already in a book club together, and then we podcast together and we buddy read a book. Like, there's a lot going on there already. Yeah, and like, I was like, this book club is very different from like our book club.
You're like, I don't know how to describe this chaos.
Like, we strictly read like contemporary romance. The Divine Rivals was like a throw. We were trying. It was a
romantasy.
Yes, we were trying something different with that book, and it just didn't work out.
It didn't hit for us.
But like in my other book club, somebody picks the books that they're wanting to read with. Yeah, and that's fine, and I love that because it gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
For sure.
And that's the point of book club. But I was like, no, I think like we're good. You're like it's not that I don't want you in the book club. It's just
and then here's the different thing. And Amber's like, if Danielle takes on one more thing on her plate, she may
kill me.
She may die. So yeah, that's why. But yes, we read it for our book club. It didn't hit for everyone. It hit for me. One of my favorite books of the year.
I love that for you.
No, it was so good. I told Amber, I said, I'm like very much in my like romantasy era. Like I'm very much like loving the romantic fantasy books. We will talk about ACOTAR next month. I had planned on it being finished for August. It just didn't hit that way. So it's fine. We're going to talk about it next month and you'll hear all my thoughts about where I'm at mentally with that series. The other book I loved so much was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan.
Mm-hmm. You did love that book.
Which is a romance, easy 5 stars. Again, beautiful, stunning writing. And I had never read Kennedy Ryan before. Mm-hmm. And I guess that very much is on track with her style and the way that she writes. It's like poetic almost. Like the way she describes like feelings is like so relatable, but like in a beautiful way. It's amazing. And so that one is has a really great mental health trope, and like it's really like it makes you definitely feel seen, and like you kind of like feel that like just connection to the characters.
Yeah.
And she's actually making it, this is the first book in a series of interconnected standalones. So I'm really excited to get into more of the side characters, because the side characters were so good in this book. Again, it's highly recommended. It's kind of one of those books that anybody I feel like could read and enjoy, just because the writing and the story are so beautiful. Second chance romance, divorced couple. Definitely check the trigger warnings, because it does deal with some heavy topics, as so many of realistic books do, because life deals with heavy topics.
Absolutely.
The only other thing I was going to finish with, where's my... Amber and I have different ways that we prepare for our episodes. She has her like 3 notebooks.
I did not bring my series notebook,
but you do have 3 notebooks.
I do. Yes.
And
I have a podcast, a TBR, and a series notebook.
And I have a Notion workspace that has all of my nonsense on it. So it has like all of the series that I'm reading, the arcs I'm reading, my wrap up.
For us being both millennials, you are very technologically savvy, and I am not. I have to literally physically write everything.
But down. I think it's because
you do work in social media.
Because I work in social media. That's what I think is my only thing. So for the month of August, out of the 12 books that I did have on my TBR, I did only read 6 of them. The great news is the great news is that 3 of those books that were also on the August that I didn't get to, I have already finished for September. So we're just trucking along. Most of my books were under the emotional category. Like Amber said, there's a very small sliver of dark, but mostly emotional and lighthearted, as per Storygraph lets me know. Cannot be said about Amber.
No, definitely not.
And it's a great segue into what you read this month.
Okay, so I read 11 books, and that includes 1 arc. Mm-hmm. I did DNF a book, and Danielle did say it was Divine Rivals.
Yeah.
I read 40% of that book, and I just I don't count that as a full book.
No.
And I know that some people depending on what percentage they get to of a book before they DNF, they count it. I just don't, because I want to count finished books. I 100% actually finished the book. And so I almost could have had 12 books if I finished that book, but I didn't.
I think it's funny because we kind of talked about it before we started recording, but I did a poll because in a Facebook group I'm in, I didn't realize that people counted DNF books as read books. And some people count them like they could have picked it up for 5% and they're going to count it, which blows my mind. I'm like, that's not a read book. And I guess also for me is I don't have a problem DNFing. I know a lot of people, some people are like, if I
biggest pet.
And I don't have a problem because then I think I'll probably pick it up again 5 years later, which is a very strong possibility.
Yeah.
But I literally, some people said that they count it, but then I was like, I don't count DNFs, because here's the thing, most often if I get to 60-70%, I'm finishing the book. I'm not gonna and I
will agree with that.
If I usually will not DNF under 50%. 50% is my benchmark. If I can make it 50%, there's a very weird thing that I feel, and I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel the second 50% is faster than the first.
No, it is, because something happens in that for like that 50, like you hit that 50% mark and like something happens in the story that you're just like eating it up after
and
that.
you feel like you can make it. And if you can't make it after, then that's when you're like,
correct,
you're done. But
correct.
I'm still weird about it. I could not count a book that I did not physically reach the final page.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's just
I
not
got to the author's note. Like
exactly. Like I read the epilogue kind of vibes. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So
I clicked until my Kindle said, "We've already added this to Goodreads."
It's now under read. Can you please put a star rating? And then that's a lot of pressure when it like is immediately after. I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to process this book.
Give me a minute.
And then I usually end up going in and changing it because I get stressed out because I'm like, that's not. Plus, you can't do half ratings on Goodreads, which sucks.
Oh, that is hard. What I always do with half ratings, if I give a book like 4.5, I rate it 5.
You do? Yes. Oh my gosh! If I rate it 4.5, I rate it 4.
3.5, it's a 4. Like,
oh, I go down.
Oh, see, I go up.
No, I'm like, no, you didn't like, especially with a 5, like maybe with a 3 to 4, but like a 5-star, I think like is such a different, like it, like, I don't know, it just hits different. And to hit a 5-star, then
I can agree with that.
Just because I don't know. And it's just different, but yeah. So, and you can see how different Amber and I's tastes are as you've kind of we've done like 12 episodes at this point.
Something like that, yeah.
But like, her and I read vastly different books.
I mean, you can just see it on when we post our wrap-ups.
I know, we always joke because it's like all the dark and like black covers and mine are like, how many rainbow colors can we
As
fit?
you can see from my stack of books.
It's true. I was going to say my stack is definitely brighter.
Yeah.
Of the two.
I mean, I've got a hot pink book here, but.
You do, but that's like shocking. Like that's not common. I mean, look at the cover though. Like you can't see the cover, and the cover's fitting.
It's a special edition.
I mean, it's a very cute cover,
and I got a little sticker.
Wow. See, it's a very cute cover, but like it's still spicy.
It yet,
it's still you're like I haven't read it, but it is
still
here.
On my physical TBR,
but it is here.
Yes. Okay, so
1 DNF.
1 DNF. So I read 11 books total, including that one arc, so still 11. I read 10 books with the arc, which is 1. Okay, so I finished a series. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess 2 because The Housemaid was like 2 books.
Oh, it's a duology, yeah.
So I guess I finished 2 series this month. So my top 3 favorite reads this month was The Sinner by Shantel Tessier. And that is the second book in the Lords series. Trigger warnings up and down, sideways, look into it before you read this book. Even for me, there were times where I was like, wow, that's a lot, but I'm still going to read. So that is like dual point of view, secret society, college dark romance, touch her and die, best friend's brother. Very, very, very spicy. The next book is a third book in a series that I finished called the New Camelot series by Simone. I will never stop talking about this series. It was so freaking good. This book, I cried for one whole chapter. All I did was cry. My daughter is standing there going, "Mom, are you okay?"
Oh,
Mom,
that was the one. That was the one you. Yeah,
yeah. I texted you about it, and then like
because
10 minutes,
we were both trying to finish our books the last day of the month,
and I was like. And literally 10 minutes later after they finished the chapter, I was like, and I don't know why I cried for that whole chapter. Fuck. Like, immediate regret.
And it's like, it doesn't even have to be like, I don't know, because I cry in books, but like, it's not always warranted. Like, I don't always like understand why I
don't want to say why. Like, I'll tell you off recording.
No, because you know I'm not going to,
you're not going to pick this book up or this series up. I know that for a fact. I couldn't even you wouldn't. But I'll tell you off recording because I don't want to ruin it if people want to read it. But it's really good.
Nicole's like, I'm writing it down. Right.
Right. Oh, by the way, I gave Sinners 5 stars. It was very good. The character growth was great. The wrap up was even better. Like, I loved every minute of it. American King, I also gave 5 stars.
I did see someone just post about, it's funny because someone just posted about that series and how much like they were like obsessed with it.
The New Camelot series?
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, those are the books that Amber was like flying through at the end of the month.
I read American Prince and I was I had 2 other books that I was like, okay, I'm either going to read this or this.
No, because we had talked about it at one of the episodes we were recording. You were like, okay, I don't know which one I'm going to read next.
And then I finished American Prince, and I was like, no, I have to know what happens.
Because if you don't know how, if you've never picked up on it, because you've mentioned it before, but if you've never picked up on the way that Amber chooses her books, she chooses them based on her spinning wheel.
Spin a wheel.
And I could never, because that's very stressful for me.
I used to have Dallas pick a number.
It's just too much.
And instead now I just okay, pick a color and then spin the wheel and let's see if you get lucky.
And here's the thing. Amber actually physically chose to read the next one.
Yes.
So
I was like,
I told her.
I can't wait.
I told her that's big mood reader energy. I mean, to go straight in and decide that you're going to do that is very scary.
Yes, it was nerve wracking, but it was so worth it.
You're like, do you do this every time?
I'm like, I don't know how you live in this chaos, but I did it for a minute, and it was okay.
Amber's for sure by the end of this episode going to bring up one of the most chaotic things I've ever done. We have to wait after the wrap up because she's going to call me out.
Oh, I'm definitely going to call you out in front of all these people that are listening. Okay, so the tropes for back to what we were really talking about here. The tropes for American King are dom, sub, multiple point of view, MMF. So if you don't know what that stands for, it's male, male, female. Secrets, very spicy, blackmail, and then it gives King Arthur vibes. And I'm so good.
Just read it.
I was sitting there trying to tell my husband I had all 3 books, and I wish I would have brought them, but they have all 3 of the characters on each of their books.
Yeah.
And I was like, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I was using the covers to tell the story. And my husband was like, are you done?
He's like,
I've lost interest.
He's like, is there someone else that you could talk about with this? Is there someone? Can we
move on? He is very supportive, I will say that, but he was just like, this is too much.
It's a different vibe when you're talking to people about books who, not that they don't support books, they do, but they don't.
He's just as a heavy reader as I am. But
it's just different because when you talk,
vastly different. Books.
When you're reading plot, when you're going through plot lines, you sound like a psycho. You sound like a certifiable crazy, and especially if you can remember full plot lines, you know that the book was good, because when I go into
That's why,
it's so good. You're just sitting there and you're like, oh my God, you'll not believe this, and you're literally talking about it as if it happened to you personally.
Literally,
it's so insane.
And I read the first one, American Queen, before I got into tabbing, but American.
Oh, so it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Okay,
and so American Prince and American King are just tabbed this way and that, and American Queen is not, and I feel really bad about it, but it was before I got into tabbing, and I'm not gonna go back and tab.
You're not gonna be me.
No, it just seems like too much effort, and I'd rather just pick up a book and read. You know what I mean? Okay, so then the third book is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with the second book. It was so good. I read the second book for book club, and it was a hit. We all loved it. It's a psychological thriller. The female main character is a past criminal. And twists and turns, a little bit of content warning and abuse.
I'm saying that by the way, if you see me shaking my head, I know what she's talking about. I do, because I did want to know what it was about. So I did Google the whole plot line, because I just I needed to know. I was like, I need to know what. I'm never going to read it.
No. You would actually die if you read this, because it would freak you out way too much.
No, and Elodie and I talked about it in book club. I can't I can watch true crime stuff and totally do that, and
I fall asleep to Criminal Minds.
No, and it's I'm totally fine with it, but something about reading, me mentally picturing things is so much harder, because I used to I know we're going to talk about it later, but I tried to read the Pretty Little Liars books.
Okay.
Because I was obsessed with the series, and I was like, I'm going to read the books, because people say the books are so good. I couldn't even get through the first book because I was so scared. And I had and I am so dead serious, y'all. If you know,
love that.
I was so freaked out because I'm sitting in bed and I can picture things a lot scarier. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's also why I that if you're a reader and you read the books before you get a screen adaptation, it's so hard for you because every single person has a different view of what they saw in their heads for these books.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
why
the
I don't do
difference.
audio.
I mean,
that's why I can't do audio, because I hear it different in my head.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
And things like that. So like one of my favorite books, Unstoppable by K.A. Knight, she just came out with the audio. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I'll listen to like a snippet. And I was like, immediately no. I was like, that is not what I heard in my head. That's not what I want to hear out loud.
So it's funny that you say that because Jessa Hastings just came out with the Magnolia Parks audiobooks.
Okay.
And I got one from the library the other day. And so I want to hear how the characters sound. Mm-hmm. But I also don't, for that same reason, because that series, me reading it physically,
you've loved that
is
series.
So different.
Yeah.
And like, I think that I feel the same way. And so it might be one that I never actually like ever hear how she envisions the characters or the people she chose. So yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. But I do read audiobooks, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So Danielle and I were talking, and we've decided that we are going to add in a segment to our wrap-ups / book episodes throughout the month as we go along from here on out. Mm-hmm. I'm more of an ARC reader than Danielle. Danielle's starting. I'm pushing her a little bit. So she's dabbling a little bit more. But like this month, the month of September, I should say, is a big ARC month for me.
It's huge.
And like literally all the books I've read so far are ARCs.
Advanced reader copies, if you have not.
Sorry,
I know I always think about it and I always say it, and like I'm like, does everyone know? Advanced reader copies. So essentially it's you getting a copy pre-published date to read, review, post about, all the things. And that there can be so much layered within what is required of you as an ARC reader. But
correct. But I would love to talk about the ARCs that I read. And sometimes they are like on my favorites list and things like that. But I think this is a great platform to promote those books and encourage our listeners or to read, or maybe it's interesting to them and they haven't heard of one, the author, or two, the book.
And here's the thing. So again, a little bit different in the way that in Amber and I's ARC tastes, if you will. Yes. I don't know. That's not really the best word, but like in our ARC journeys, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So Amber definitely leans more indie authors.
Correct.
And finds a lot of hidden gems that you would not just find out just chilling, because it's just they're not as widely accessible as and here's the thing, it fits Amber's taste, because a lot of the books that she reads fit that same vibe.
I was telling Danielle, like, I thought earlier last month, in the month of August, I was like, I think I have like 3 or 4 ARCs next month, so I'm gonna like dwindle down my TBR a little bit. No, immediate regret, because every time I see a trope that I like or something that sounds intriguing, I immediately I black out and I sign up. So thank you, the Authors Agency, for just having a blast a couple times a week and making me black out, because now I have like 5 to 7 ARCs this month.
And it's funny because you go in pretty much blind.
Oh yeah, I don't read anything that I'm sent. I just copy, paste, post, and I don't read anything.
So Amber goes in pretty blind because she's reading just tropes, and she's like, we're just doing this. So
sounds good. Let's do it.
Exactly. And so for me on NetGalley, which is where a majority of the ARCs I get sent are from, I'm looking at the cover. I'm reading a summary most of the time. Yeah, and some of them I'm going based on having read the author previously. Yes. So mine it's usually less indie based. Than Amber's. So you may find that when I'm talking about an ARC, it's you're like, oh, I've heard of that, or I've heard of that author, more so than Amber. And some of them I honestly don't get to for a long time. And the nice thing is I'm not like contractually obligated to read or post about it. Thank God, because I mean, if I am, then I will. Like, especially if it's an indie author, I feel like I'm more inclined to read it before publish. Because when we talk about it in this segment, I'm going to talk about the one that actually I read in September, but it came out last week. So I'm going to talk about it because I think that
no, that's fair, because then it's already published, it's already out, things like that. That's what the other thing is. We're going to wait until it's actually published, and then we'll talk about them.
I have one that's from March of 2024, so you won't catch me reading that until February of 2024. But I am excited about it. I did get one. I did get one the other day. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm really excited about it. I sent it to Amber, and I was like, "Look how cute this cover is!
The cover is
so
stunning.
Cute, so cute, and even the premise is really cute. So I'm excited about it. But I don't know when that one comes out. Probably 2024 as well. I love I just have to add in my very first arc that I was sent was Tessa Bailey's. What the heck is it? Hooked, line and sinker. Yes, the second one in like the Ballinger sisters. Yeah. And I was freaking thrilled, you guys. Like, it is like such a freaking high when you get an email for an arc. It's like it's a different. It's like the serotonin that you need for, and that's
now though. It's a stress level.
No, I was gonna say Amber.
I have one. I'm reading one. I'm 80% in.
But Amber gets them, so you can either like download them yourself. They can mail them to you, which I have yet to have any mailed to me. I would like love, not that my address isn't like anywhere that someone would just mail shit to me. I'm not just like free willing giving my address.
No.
But then they can also just send them straight to your Kindle.
So I have a few that go through BookFunnel where you have to actually like.
Yeah.
But have like
a certain amount of days before it archives it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like immediately download it.
Yes.
But then the ones that are like, we've sent this to your Kindle, and I'm like stressed. I have one that's waiting to be read, but I have to finish this other one. Yeah. But I'm 80% in, and so I've only got 20% left. So
I do also, before we go into the arc statement, there's one more thing I do want to say about it, is if there are any authors listening who would love to send us arcs,
I would love to be
read. We would love it so much. It would be the biggest high, because I just can't even. And we have a specific, like we have an email. So just in case, it is tropesandtantrums@gmail.com. So not. I mean, here's the thing: I can self promote because we're like,
you can reach out to us via
DM.
Instagram,
yeah, totally fine.
Things like that. But I will say the one of the mini arcs that I'm getting, I'm really excited for the Tortured Beast.
Oh, did you get you? So you?
Oh yeah, I'm getting it.
I'm so excited.
I'm obsessed with Mandy Muse. I went on September 7th. On National Buy a Book Day. I bought 4. You didn't hear that, honey. I did not buy 4 books. This is actually one of the books I bought because I was like, I have to own it. She
actually has to own it, because I
talk about this book all the time.
You do, and the cover's stunning.
It's
oh my god,
Tortured Beast is pink.
I was gonna say, I hope it's pink, because it would just next to each other would look
like on the inside.
I love that.
So there's a playlist.
You guys, there's nothing better. We're gonna have to make it a full episode talking about book covers. I saw someone talking about book covers, and we have to make a whole episode about it because I have a lot of thoughts about book covers.
So Mandy Muse, if you're listening, big fan. And I mean, you already know because we DM quite a bit.
But honestly, stunning cover though. Okay, yes. So arcs. Do you want to talk first, or do you want me to talk first?
How many do you have?
Just one.
I have one. Okay. I can go first. I just need the blurb from your phone. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'll just start. It was Cash. I got this from the author agency. And Mackenzy Fox, the author. Cash by Mackenzy Fox. It's a thank you. It's a spin-off series, and it's book 1 in the New Orleans Rebels Motorcycle Club. The tropes are motorcycle, dad's best friend, age gap. The age gap is 22 years.
Oh my gosh.
Silver fox, praise kink, and dual point of view. And the blurb is, from the best-selling author Mackenzy Fox comes the highly anticipated a motorcycle club spin-off series from the Bracken Ridge Rebels, New Orleans Rebels motorcycle club. Cash is a gritty age gap dad's best friend's motorcycle romance with all the feels. The men of the New Orleans Rebels Motorcycle Club will do anything for their club. They are a brotherhood, a club who stands mighty, and above all else, they take care of business, New Orleans style. The bikers may rule the city, but the women of the club have their hearts, and the men will do anything to protect what's theirs. It is part of a series, but can be read standalone with a happy ending. This book is recommended for mature readers, 18 years old and older. Okay, so my review is that Cash is very, very sexy. Even the guy on the cover, like that's immediately who I saw. Like every time he spoke, like he's stunning. And his mouth is even better. Deanna, who is the female main character, is beautiful, strong, and knows how to go after what she wants. Cash and Deanna have chemistry that you can feel coming off the pages, and I literally cannot wait for Jet. Like I'm getting the arc for that as well. Or I put in for the arc, I should say, for that as well. But like Deanna moves to New Orleans. She's from Arizona. And her dad is like the head guy of the, what do you call it? The motorcycle club out in Arizona. And that's where Cash started. And then he moved to New Orleans to start his own.
Oh, hence Dad's best friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Deanna has a stalker and needs some space, and so he sends her to Cash because like this is where she'll be safe, like and watched and taken care of and things like that. Well, Deanna already has this like crush on Cash, and it just kind of like escalates. And it's like forced proximity, like she's living in his house and like all these things. But it's very good. It's a quick read, spicy, good plot. Happy ending, definitely wrap up all the things. Yes. My favorite quote from the book was, I've died and gone to heaven, and Cash Hudson is my savior. He's the only man I can ever and will ever want. I know that now. I can't even like begin to describe, like it was this whole thing. Like it's so good. I gave it 4.5 stars. And for this specific book, I think it's like a spice level of 5.
Oh, okay. So then that's like...
So my spice level isn't just like based off like what I think. It's based off like what the book is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yes, you definitely should read. Again, the book is Cash by Mackenzy Fox.
So for me, literally polar opposite of arcs. So the arc that I read, I read it in September, but it just came out. So I want to talk about it
definitely talk
about it. Because I do have other arcs to talk about for next month. It's called Climb the Ladder by Ashley McConnell. Super cute cover with like all of these what are they called? Seashells?
Yeah, it's like a beach.
It feels like a beach read. And so I was thinking, oh, it's summer. So I was like, I have to read it.
Right.
I have to read it.
That's right.
False. It was not a beach read. But it does take place at, like there is a beach vibe setting.
Okay.
So contemporary romance, dual POV. You do have to wait for the second POV until after the 50% mark, which is really lovely.
Interesting.
It actually, so when I saw that it was dual POV, I kept waiting because...
You're like, oh my God.
Because when you look at it, when you're reading, it'll say like the name of the character usually when it's dual POV. Like, so you're like, you know where you're at. And so it had her name. And I'm like, it's literally only her. Why is her name on the thing? Like I keep waiting for someone else to show up. Dual POV, Grumpy Sunshine. We love single dad trope.
Oh, love a single dad trope.
I know. Small town romance. And like starting a new life. So basically, the book follows Blythe, a Seattle accountant, as she finally starts to see like good things happening in her life. She's a bookstagrammer. Also should have mentioned that. We love that. Very much saw myself in her, not just like the bookstagrammer aspect, just like her personality and the way that, you know, she talks and things like that. Basically, she gets this long-awaited promotion. They go out to celebrate, her and her friends, this long-awaited promotion. She has a one-night stand and starts this relationship with this guy who's like perfect for her. And basically, her whole life gets like flipped upside down because this promotion that she gets, she finds out is only temporary. and she was promised this job, and then they were like, no, we actually hired someone from out of from outside, and we didn't decide to hire internally. And so she's been working to do this whole job, and then finds out that she no longer has this job.
The worst news possible.
Literally. And then she calls her boyfriend, that she's now been with for a significant number of months. And he does not show up for her, and she's like, what the heck? So she goes over to his house, sees that he is indeed cheating on her with his ex-girlfriend. So basically on one weekend, her whole life basically gets flips upside down. And she had been talking to a girl that she had met online through her Bookstagram account, who lives on this island in Georgia called Whippawa Island. I'm hoping that I pronounced that correctly. But she meets this girl, and this girl's like, oh, there's this abandoned bookstore. You should check it out. Like, I think you'd be amazing at like owning this bookstore.
Our dream.
Our dream. I mean, definitely, literally. And so she's not a spontaneous person. Can relate, also not a spontaneous person. And she basically just like up and like leaves her life. And she like heads to this little small town in Georgia on the water. And the bookstore is actually connected to a coffee shop owned by I believe his name is Charlie. I'm like, yes, I think it's Charlie. I'm not 100% sure now. Now I'm like second guessing myself. Our male main character.
Okay.
And so he actually, he's dealing with a lot of like past trauma. Like I said, single dad, very grumpy, which we love. And it was definitely a slow burn. But I loved it. And it didn't just jump into her. Like, she was trying to figure out if even that was the life that she wanted. And so she moves to this town. Super charming, so sweet. It does have some spice in it, just towards the beginning of the book, pre-move, just so that we're clear. But I loved Blythe's character growth from beginning to end. Her relationship with his daughter is so sweet and tender.
I love that.
It was just really good. Even the side characters were really enjoyable. The friends. I flew through it. Absolutely. Like I said, the grumpy sunshine chemistry was amazing, but the healing journey was so beautiful as well. But honestly, like, what book girly like doesn't dream of owning
an abandoned bookstore?
Yeah. Literally. And so definitely 100%. I rated it a 4.5, I believe. Yes, 4.5. Taylor song, Jump Then Fall. Always, if
you know, that fits. I feel like that. I feel that's a good one.
And she had a playlist too.
And I mean, I didn't even read the book, and that feels great.
And if you are newer to the podcast and you don't follow me on Instagram, I rate my books on Instagram
one thing that you do.
with and I equate it to a Taylor song. It is equally exciting and lovely, but equally the bane of my existence when I cannot narrow down a song. And it makes me, some songs, I just finished a book yesterday that literally from the very, like, probably first couple chapters, knew exactly what the song was going to be. And I went to Spotify and it was on almost every single playlist that anyone had made of the book. So I felt vindicated in my choice.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is not that easy. This one was easy. Like I said, book is Climb the Ladder. It is now available. It is on KU, so if you're looking for that. But the cover is also so super cute because it's got the little seashells.
Oh, and I guess I should say Cash as well by Mackenzy Fox is definitely on KU as well.
We honestly, KU is such an not underrated because I think people, you either really use it or you like don't
I really use it.
Yeah. And that's the really great thing is you are still essentially helping the author the more but do not try not to DNF the KU books because the authors get paid by the amount of pages that are read. So just a lovely little thing. But honestly, such a solid arc. Actually found that one in that Facebook group that I'm in. And she was looking for arc readers. And I
love that.
And the difference between Amber and I is I normally don't sign up for arcs because I just don't.
You're such a mood reader.
Yeah, I can't do that. But I thought it would be interesting. And I liked the cover. And
the cover is beautiful.
So beautiful. And she's been so sweet because we've been DMing back and forth.
Well,
and
she follows us on our Bookstagram.
Yep, because I posted about it. Yep. And no, I loved that. So 100% 4.5 stars. Definitely check it out. So
nice. Okay, so I have some questions.
Oh, I'm so excited. And we actually talked. It's funny because we didn't talk about the questions but then I actually asked them like for the book club because
and I was like, oh, well,
because we only had half the group and we only talked about the book for I think like 20 minutes or so.
And we were on for like almost 2 hours.
We were literally, honestly, we're there for the vibes. It's so good.
I was not joking when I told you like my cheeks.
No,
are hurting
it's so
bad.
And you guys,
just from laughing.
You know what sucks is
it's just.
I do feel bad because we talk about it as like the greatest thing ever. And then we're like, no, I'm sorry. You cannot be a part of it. It is so great.
It's not that we don't want to add people. It's just like.
We're really comfortable with
We're very
the
comfortable
vibes.
with what we got, yeah. I will say like with my other book club, like we've had friends who like have added friends and I love it because I have met some really cool people. Like one of my new book besties, I hope that you're listening to this because I'm going to give you a little shout out. We're constantly texting about books. Like she's read Cash and she's like, she's now she's gone back and started the original series. And so she's reading it. It's like, I think she said it's 11 books.
Yeah.
But we read very, very similar books. So it's like, ooh, what are you reading? Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And like, she loves that I'm getting all these arcs, especially because we read similarly.
Yeah.
But like it's just something different when you meet somebody who you vibe with like that.
Yeah.
But someone I would have never met without book club. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think it's such a cool thing because you would never like think like book club would be a place like where like you genuinely have these connections. I hate that we all live in different states.
Yeah, that is hard. There's only 3 of us that live here. And
your other book club is mostly people who are here. Correct.
Yes. We have 2 that live in Marana. We have 2 that live in Snowflake.
Okay,
but the rest
here
of us
in Arizona,
live in the valley. Yeah. So we try to every few months meet in person. Like somebody will host or we'll meet up like at a coffee shop or whatever. But for the most part, we just do FaceTime, and that's how we. But it's still fun. Like it's still exciting.
I would love nothing more than at some point for us to do like a little like weekend away, like where all of us were together from our book club.
We'd get nothing done.
No, it would be
we would just be like, we're getting an Airbnb, no one's leaving.
We're just
reading a book.
And we're literally, and we'd be laughing
the
entire time. It would be the greatest. So like, if any of you are listening, like I'm down for it. Like one day is us like, we may have to make that our Florida trip and we go to Florida.
Say
less. I think we should go. We should go to Florida. And then because we have most of us, we're either in Arizona.
3 of us here, 3 of us in Florida, and
Lindsay's in Missouri, I believe.
She is Indiana?
Maybe. It's somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah. But she was in Arizona I think earlier this year. So we could like trade off. It would be so fun.
It would be so fun.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we're not going to do like the top reads like you asked, but like I wanted to talk to Danielle about, when we were in elementary school and junior high and high school, like you read the books with the kid, like as a class, right? Like you read book together. What, if any, books that you remember from back when would you still pick up today and read?
Okay. So you're talking like in school, like required reading?
Required reading. So you want me to go first? So
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I have a couple, but I want to hear your things too.
Hands down, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
Hands
100%.
Down. I've read that book like 2 or 3 times. Still love it. Have not read the second book, but my grandma read the second book and she was like, if you do pick that book up, you might regret it and you might not like To Kill a Mockingbird anymore. Yeah, I chose not to read the second book. But To Kill a Mockingbird, hands down. The Great Gatsby.
I was just, okay. We're like right on the same.
And possibly, I didn't write it down, but now that I'm like sitting here thinking about it, possibly Mice of Men as well, which ironically are all banned books now.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other one, I think we read, excuse me, maybe elementary school, maybe junior high. It's called Number of the Stars.
Number of the Stars?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah. That was one of my other ones. So like I see the cover and I'm like, oh, I remember that book. That was actually a really good book.
I just went and Googled required reading in high school so that I could like get, because Amber just took like a bunch of mine that I immediately, it's fine. So a couple for me, again, The Great Gatsby, To Kill a Mockingbird. Also,
I saw Catcher on the Rye on that list. That was actually a good one too.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, obviously. Hamlet.
So good. Hamlet, yes. The other one.
The Odyssey wasn't bad.
No, the Odyssey wasn't bad.
Sorry, I'm like watching Danielle scroll.
I know. Let's see. Okay. I also had Night, which I read in middle school, I believe, by Eli Wiesel. It was about the Holocaust.
Interesting.
Super powerful book. Also, I get a lot of flack for this. It's very funny. I haven't talked about it in years because people like literally think I'm insane. But we had to read, summer reading was Life of Pi.
Nope.
I love
Triggered. PTSD. I hate
See,
that
I
book.
know. That is literally the response every time. I loved it. I never watched the movie, to be honest with you, but I did love the book.
I went into high school into honors English.
No, me too. That was the book for 9th grade, right?
And I
really loved it.
My parents were like, you have to read this book. And I'm like, I'm crying. Like, I don't want to read this book.
Well, okay.
I never finished it. I never finished it.
So I will say, Amber and I went to the same high school. We were a year apart. So it tracks that obviously we both read it going into 9th grade honors English.
Yes.
It's really funny because junior year, I switched into regular English because it was just my course load was really heavy for a junior in high school. It's just like too much. So my parents had suggested, like, let's cut back a little bit because I was like a serial, like, perfectionist, psycho, like lunatic, essentially.
I was a 3-sport athlete. My parents were like, let's just...
No.
Let's get good grades, obviously, but make sure you can always compete. So let's stay on level. And I was like, no, ideal.
I was a lunatic. So I ended up switching into regular English, which is totally fine. But I quickly realized how different regular English and honors English was, because it was very different. Vastly different. So I'm trying to think of that. Were we reading, what the heck is the book called that's about the Crucible? The Crucible.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, The Crucible. So we were reading it. And one of the things that was I'm fully immersed in the classroom that I'm sitting in. This is how bad it is. So we had to read The Crucible, and we were instructed that we were not allowed to read it outside of class. And for me, like,
you were reading outside of class.
So I'm always reading it outside of class. And my teacher, sweetest old lady, like, she was wonderful. I can't remember what her name is.
I'm sorry. Is junior year?
Junior year.
Did she say Boulder Dash?
Stop. No. Stop it right.
I know exactly what you're talking
about. Stop it right.
I want to say Mrs. Davis.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I'm going home and I'm going to look it up. I'm going to go home and go look at my junior year.
I am 100% convinced it's her. 100%. Or we should say something about spaghetti, like throwing spaghetti at the wall or some shit. She said,
like, you're reaching, like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah, like she would say crazy shit.
I believe that
all the time, but we couldn't read it outside of. That's amazing. Stop it. The connections that we have are wild. We can't talk about a lot of them, but
we cannot.
They're far-reaching. So she would say you could not read it outside of class, and everyone's like, no, we're not reading outside. They're like, who the fuck?
Reading outside
and so we would literally, junior year of high school, popcorn fucking reading The Crucible. Are you kidding? The Crucible's like 100-some pages. I don't even know how many pages. It's like nothing. It's such a fast read. Such a fast read. Because I was already finished with it.
Funny.
And so, but then nobody would popcorn. Because then we'd have to go in a row. And then people would have to read it out loud. You guys, there is nothing. I only have horrible, like just, it was exhausting to listen to people read The Crucible because nobody wanted to be there. It was like, please put me back in honors English. Please put me back in
I can
honors.
handle it, Mom.
I literally just want to be, but it was such a joke, you guys. It was such a joke.
So funny.
I mean, The Crucible was a good book. Like I said, all I can remember is sitting and having to read it out loud. Like we were literally like in elementary school, but we're juniors in high school. So like 16, 17 years old minimum. So
That's so funny.
But literally, those are the books. Like I said, apparently, Life of Pi is still triggering for people. Apparently, I really did enjoy it. I really did. It was one of my favorite books back then.
Happy for you. Know that I am. Because it was not for me.
What was the other? There was another book that I really liked. I think we read it freshman year. What was it? Because it wasn't, because 1984 I did not like.
I did not read that.
Was, I think it was, I can't pronounce it. I always said it was Anne Rand, but I don't think that was actually how you pronounced her name, because I think it was it Anthem? I think that might have been the other book that we read.
Didn't read it.
I really loved like dystopian like books.
Which tracks for what you're into.
Which tracks for what I'm into now. But I also, I read a lot, like, what was it? What's the word? Like recreationally? Is that the word that you would use?
You read
for fun.
For fun. Yeah,
for
there
fun.
you go.
I mean,
for fun. You read for fun. What is another one that like Stargirl? But I read that in like elementary school, and it was like the girl who lived across the street. Or no, what's that? Flipped? I don't know.
Flipped?
Anyway.
I thought Flipped was like dystopian. Was that not Flipped?
No.
Oh my God.
Stargirl, I think, was the girl that lived next door or across the street that was just like different. She was just a girl who was just different. And that was a good one. And then there's Flipped. And they both have been made into movies.
There was one. I thought Flipped was dystopian.
Click on it.
This one.
Yeah, that book.
Yeah,
It's
I thought it was
dystopian?
dystopian.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not.
Am I just on drugs? Possibly. It's really early for that. Let's see.
What does the blurb say?
It's not dystopian. There was another one I read that was dystopian. Flipped is a romance told in two voices. I read this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were neighbors.
Yeah, they were neighbors.
There's another one that I read that was like...
And it's been made into a movie.
Yeah, no, I know that. There's one that because I've read Flipped before, but there was another one that I read that was like dystopian, where they were like setting each other up like for marriage like later in life. It was like a whole thing.
Oh, that's... Is that Divergent?
No, it wasn't Divergent. I've read Divergent as well.
Or is that...
I can't think of
Oh my God, is it... Oh God. I can see the cover. It's green and she like is sitting in a bubble like this.
I can't remember.
That one right over there.
This one Matched? No, that was not it.
I'm telling you.
I mean, maybe that's. Yeah. I definitely have never read that book. So
okay, well,
I'm gonna find the other one,
which is funny because I used to be like into dystopian. Like, so I've read like, the Hunger Games, Divergent. What else is on the list? The Matched I've read. I started the selection, but I stopped reading that.
The Grace here is some people keep talking about that, but it sounds very creepy, so I can't read that. It sounded too much.
Interesting.
I can't remember. We'll report back in 7 episodes when I somehow remember it in the middle of the night.
She'll text me.
I'm literally gonna text her and I'm gonna be like, you have no idea. I just remembered this freaking book. And now I'm not even like sure if I actually read it, which is even stupider. So yeah.
That's funny. Okay, what about like a book series that you think that every reader should read? Obviously, Harry Potter's on the list for
you. Yes. Harry Potter was a big one. I
think the Click series.
Oh my God. I totally forgot about the Click series.
I'm going to age myself. The Click series.
The Click series was something. It was so, like, now looking back, it's so triggering. Like, thinking about, like, how mean
it was. Like Gossip Girl for like literally like
middle schoolers.
But
like it was like almost more aggressive. Like,
way more
I
aggressive.
think there was also
I never read Gossip Girl. I only watched
I never read Gossip Girl either. Big Gossip Girl girly though. So
Same.
so I read a series. So my best friend sophomore year told me about this series, and I actually have never heard anyone talk about it.
Is that
ever.
the series?
Yes.
Never read it.
So nobody
Never
had ever heard
it.
So it didn't look like this back in the day. So the covers are different now. So it was called so it didn't really have like a title of the series, but it was like you knew it as the main character's name, which her name was Jessica Darling, and it was 5 books. And I ate this shit up. And she had told me to read it, and I literally, like, it started I actually want to go back and reread it because I was just thinking about it the other day. I was obsessed. The author was Megan McCafferty. I don't know if she's written anything like since then. This was back in, God, it's been 900 years. Okay, so it was published in 2001. I didn't read it, I think, until like 2005, 2006, maybe sophomore year of high school. It was 5 books, and it starts out with this girl who's like very much like perfectionist, track star, like second born in her family, very like angsty, like teenage, like we all were, like, which we like, you eat that shit up. And she ends up like going to the nurse's office one day, and this like random like guy who, if you do not like, I don't like, again, aging ourselves, but like went to high school in like the late 2000s, pre 2010, and so there was like very like gothic, like kind of like emo, like I don't know if that's a thing in high school anymore. So like I don't know if anyone even listens is who's in high school. Probably not. So they would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like he was like very into like smoking pot, and like so
big for when we were in high school.
And like it was definitely a vibe.
Did not do that until I was in college.
Like it's a very different vibe. And so he goes into the nurse's office because he has to do a random drug test because like he had like whatever. So he gets her to pee in a cup. He gets her to like pee in a cup for him. Like so that he gets off of.
This happens in this book.
This is the beginning of this book. And you guys, let me just tell you, you're like, there's no fucking way. So that's literally the beginning of this book. You guys, it starts a full-blown fucking romance for 5 books between these two. It is, I ate this shit up. Like, it was so good. Okay, so this honestly, and she was getting over, like, her best friend had just moved because her best friend's brother had died of a drug overdose because he was friends with this guy. And so then it was like
the guy she peed in the cup for?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
And so it became like this thing that she was hiding from everyone because her best friend's brother had just died.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it like became, and it was like this whole literal 5-book series. You guys, I want to reread it and see if it is as good.
Please do and report back. Like,
you guys,
I want to know.
I probably could fly through these. Amazon probably has them for probably pretty freaking cheap too.
That is so funny.
But you guys, I would, like I said, we talked about like things like I'm going to reread this. I also read because we talked about it on book club, the Princess Diaries series.
Yes. You know what? I think it's not a series.
Yeah, it was a series.
No,
a different one.
Something else. It's not a series, but I think like every coming of age girl should read, like sophomore to senior year of high school. They should be reading Sarah Dessen.
Oh, absolutely. Also, I was a big Nicholas Sparks girl.
Oh.
I like sobbing in my bed.
The Longest Ride.
The Notebook. The Wedding. The Wedding.
I have not read The Wedding.
Oh my gosh.
The Choice.
The Choice.
I
I was a literal, like I ate everything up.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about that I didn't know about this conversation, but I was thinking about it in bed the other day. Like I used to just lay in bed and just cry reading these books. Like a freaking,
literally
what
am I doing?
Like what is wrong? And I'm like I'm like 15
now
years
like we're like crying in books and we're
we
like
are. It still tracks. Don't worry,
so
everyone.
Relatable.
It was so, it was like that's literally.
Are those the original covers?
No, these are not. Maybe those other ones are the original covers. They actually did do a prequel that became a movie. Obviously, I don't know if
the whole like drug testing like is triggering for me only because no, literally for something that's supposed to be random. Okay, tell me why. Tell me why.
Stop! I know what you're gonna say.
But I got picked every freaking week. Time. Every single time.
Oh,
as
my
an athlete,
God.
like you have to be drug tested, right?
No. Oh my God. Let me just tell you. How long have we been talking? An hour?
A dance happened. The following week, we'd all be drug test. I was being pulled.
You guys.
Tell me why that's random.
So, okay. So let me give you the preface because I actually have to explain.
I'm going to tell you why it was random because they knew I would test positive. I would test negative. That's why.
100%. And so here's the thing. It's very funny. So I have to preface this because I have told this story because it happened to me. Same. Obviously,
my mom loves to tell this story. Like she's always like, it doesn't ever make sense. They knew Amber would test negative, so that's why they would always pick her. And I'm like, okay,
you guys,
let it go. So, but it's like weird.
So let me tell you, we went to our high school was a like what you would consider a Division I high school in Arizona, and it was very much widespread that the football team, who was very good at the time that I don't know if they're still very good. They're not. A lot of shit went down. Please do not Google the name of our high school. Please
I'm not sharing it.
We're not telling you because there's some shit.
You'll probably put 2 and 2 together and figure it out yourself, but that's on you, not
yes. Me. Nope. We're not divulging that.
But I enjoyed my high school time. Like I truly did.
No. And here's the thing. There's some shit that just went down, not with us personally, just with the high school. And it was after we left. So it's fine.
Absolutely.
So they would, there was a lot of other high schools who felt that, and school districts that thought that our football team was on steroids, which they were. I think it was widespread that we all knew that there was steroid use and there was rampant drug use.
I plead the fifth.
I'm not saying that, but like, that's why they enacted random drug testing. Because I think I don't know if it was my sophomore year or junior year that they enacted random drug testing. So basically, if you were in any sport or any extracurricular activity, like I did choir and I had to sign it for choir. And it was like this, and like I did it for the sports that I was in, and it was stupid. Because again, it was not random because I think it was like every other Friday or like one Friday a month, you knew it was happening and they would come to the class and they'd be like.
After a big weekend.
Always.
Always after a dance, after a big rival weekend. It was whatever you want to call it.
So
when it was happening.
So they would pick you out and you would have to go random drug test in the front of the school in this stupid trailer. And
at least the trailer was nice and air conditioned.
So let me tell you something. And this is me like being really vulnerable here on this podcast.
I love this.
So if you've made it this far, this is a true treat for you. So
I have no filter.
No, zero filter. So
Danielle, on the other hand.
No. I get super freaked out when I have to like pee in like on command. Like it freaks me out.
I learned some tricks.
And it's the same thing like because people are like, well, what about when you were pregnant? You had to go. I literally had to make appointments for the very beginning of the day.
Same.
Or I had to drink so much water that my bladder was going to explode before getting to my doctor's appointments. But I didn't know that was a thing when I was in high school, and I would get quote unquote random drug tested all the time. Like they would pick, and again, same with Amber. Now thinking back, they would obviously pick probably the least likely people to. And I think I only had one instance because you had to walk through the halls in this group of people, like until you got back to the front of the school. And I think there was one time that there was one football player who was like, oh, fuck. And they made a mistake, obviously, because I think they probably had to pick like one football player to like kind of like even it out, because they'd have like all these kids who like didn't track as doing anything. And he was like, oh my God, what is the time frame that like it, and nobody knew because nobody else was doing drugs. So nobody knew. And he like questions he had answered because he clearly didn't know. And I hope he's doing well, by the way, because I'm sure that he definitely got caught doing whatever he was doing. But I would have to stand out there for hours because I could not just pee because it made me so anxious. And then they would make you drink water from the water cooler. They had like the sports water cooler out there that you had to drink water from. And so it's literally December. It's December morning, and in Arizona, it doesn't get supremely cold, but it does get cold
in the morning. In the winter time here in the valley, like
it gets cold.
It's cold in the morning, and then by noon, you're like, I regret this sweater that I decided to wear.
But the problem was, it was December, and I specifically, it happened all the time. Like you said, I got picked every year, all the time, 100 freaking times. Then my mom would get the voicemail, your daughter was randomly drug tested today at school, blah, blah, blah. And my mom would be like, oh, I know you got randomly drug. Well, no, they call you. And literally, I was out there and they made us like stand outside, and it was freezing. And we went to, our school day started at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was cold. And they started at the very beginning of the day because they were like, we're going to catch whoever, very beginning of the day. And I was out there till like 11 in the morning because I could not pee. I was so scared. Like I literally.
You should have started Googling tricks. You have to run the water.
You couldn't have phones back then. You
Oh,
could
that's
remember
true.
they were psycho.
They were psycho back then with the phone stuff.
We honestly though, like, that's ridiculous. Like if you made it this far, literally, I just have so much anxiety. I still think I told someone about it the other day. Not the other day.
So
it was
funny.
like, I think it was just like, these things are so random, but like the fact that like you wouldn't understand had you not lived them yourself. Like Amber and I truly lived this life. Like that was truly our life.
I did.
And it was you know what? Your mom's 100% right. Like that is exactly why they knew who to pick. They weren't stupid because it was not random. You're right.
No.
You're 100% right. It was not random. You think they still do that? Mm-hmm. Do they really? Mm-hmm. That is wild. I'm sure it's still not random.
I don't know if it is or not. Like the only athlete that I knew in the last, oh my God, how long have I been with my husband? 5 years. The only athlete I know is now in college. Oh. And she also was almost in the same boat as I was, always getting picked because they always knew she'd turn up negative.
Yeah.
So she like related to me in that sense. But now she's in college, and I mean she's an athlete in college, so it's a little bit different. But
what a wild time, honestly.
Yeah. And she went to our high school too. But vastly different now.
I just cannot. Like we got this episode. You got
us a lot. You got a lot.
You got our.
You're welcome.
Our junior English teacher. Oh my God, I cannot believe that. That is.
I'm seriously gonna look it up when I get home.
No, I'm 100%. I think you're 100% right.
I think I'm right.
I wonder how she's doing. I mean,
who knows?
It's been a long time. Since I've been a junior in high school. And then you also got the random drug test story. Literally. Wild.
Just based off a book.
Just based off of that book. I will be reading the series. We'll report back. Probably shouldn't say that because as if I like need more books to read right now.
Or more series.
It is, let's see, for all 5 of them, it's $50. I do have a signed copy of the 5th book. When she announced it, I replied I pre-ordered it and I got a signed copy, and I thought I'd like really like won the lottery. It was like, I think back in, I don't even know when that 5th book came out. It was not the ending I wanted, but 5th book I think was in like 2010 maybe. So yeah, she like really continued the series for a long time.
Good for her.
No, that's the new covers. I was gonna say 2022 is not correct.
No, that is not correct.
No.
All right.
What a great, just solid episode.
What a great solid wrap up.
Honestly, for over an hour. If you're still here, you got a lot of good treats of things that you did not want to know about us, but now do know.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Follow us on our Instagram at Tropes and Tantrums. Our links to our individual bookstagrams are on there as well. And we will see you guys soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Tropes and Tantrums. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. And don't forget, happy reading.